Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad. In this short video, I'm going to talk about the benefits of protecting your immune system and overall health with a supplement that I've talked about before, and that's vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. It has a lot of benefits. It's good for your mental health, your neurological health, your musculoskeletal health. It's good for your digestive system. It's good for your immune system. It's good for overall body health. And the funny thing is, it's not actually a vitamin, it's a pro-hormone, because it creates a plethora of benefits throughout the system. And with everything that's going on nowadays with the coronavirus and people are on lockdown and people are inside, one of the things that you have to worry about is, okay, if you're inside and you're not going outside and getting the benefits from the sun, you need to protect your immune system. And one of the things that they realized is that with the coronavirus, it weakens vitamin D, okay? In addition, they found that the COVID patients, now again, these are people that were definitely diagnosed with the virus. Studies have shown that they have low vitamin D levels. People who are hypertensive, low vitamin D. People who are diabetics, low vitamin D. People who are obese, low vitamin D. People who are darker skin tone, low vitamin D. Who's getting mostly the coronavirus? People who have low vitamin D levels. Now, again, I'm not making a statement about the coronavirus at all. I understand it's a very deadly issue. I'm not going to make a statement against that whatsoever, so please understand, all I'm talking about is the studies have shown that people who are diagnosed with the coronavirus typically have low vitamin D levels. So with this video, I just want to make the suggestion to increase your immune system by taking vitamin D. Now, there's a lot of benefits of vitamin D. Yes, it's a pro-hormone, and we already know that it increases the calcium absorption by 20 times. I've done videos on that. I've done videos with, if you're going to take vitamin D3, also take vitamin K2 for calcium absorption to the bloodstream. However, again, with the immune system, how it benefits the immune system, so some microbes actually block the receptors for vitamin D. So this is why it's needed to supplement. It has a viral killing effects. It's antiviral. It reduces pro-inflammatory cytokines. Now, cytokines, you hear about the cytokine storm. Cytokines is the alarm system that our body has to build up I always say the soldiers when a pathogen invades. So it reduces those pro-inflammatory cytokines. So what it does, in return, it increases the anti-inflammatory cytokines, which will help the inflammation, because with cytokines, we have good cytokines and we have bad cytokines. In addition to, because it is good for the immune system, it lowers the risk of respiratory infections. What's COVID? COVID is a respiratory infection. All right? So if you notice that, you do your studies, 80% of Americans are low in vitamin D. They either have a deficiency or they're insufficient in vitamin D levels. Now, when I get my patients checked, I always want the higher the numbers. Modern medical says 30 is fine. I want higher than 30. I want 50. I want 60. I want that number up there, because the more vitamin D levels that are circulating in your bloodstream, the better your shield is. Now, again, what happens when you're deficient or have an insufficiency? Remember, backtrack. Vitamin D is good for the immune system. So what happens? You have inflammation, you have infections, cardiovascular disease, diabetes type 2, bone loss, neurological symptoms. These are all indicative of vitamin D levels. Okay? Because remember, vitamin D is a pro-hormone. Also, too, you may have typically seasonal. What happens with the seasons? Typically, December, January, February and March are the winter season. Nobody's going outside. Nobody's exposing themselves to the sun. So what happens? You typically get low vitamin D levels. Okay? So now you're more open for the flu. You're more open for respiratory infections. Now again, if you have a respiratory infection, main thing you want to look out for is possibly getting the pneumonia. Because if you have low vitamin D levels when it's seasonal, you got to think about when most of the flu season is. Most of the flu season is during those cold winter months when nobody's going outside, they're inside, they're stressed out because of the holidays, and what happens? Decreases the immune system. Also, it increases the risk of what's called ARDS. What are ARDS? Acute respiratory distress syndrome. Okay? So again, it's all tied into the vitamin D3 levels. Now, who's at risk? Now the question is, who's at risk for having low vitamin D3? Okay, first and foremost, again, this is not in any particular order, but the number one person who's at risk of low vitamin D levels are people who have no gallbladders. The function of the gallbladder is to secrete bile. Bile emulsifies fat, which vitamin D3 is a fat-soluble vitamin for better absorption into the small intestines and into the body. So if you don't have a gallbladder, I always recommend getting a digestive enzyme with ox bile in it. Obese. People who are obese typically have bad absorption. Lack of sun. Lack of sun absorbs vitamin D. Now here's something kind of tricky. So the people with darker skin individuals, what happens is the key thing to note is they have higher amounts of melanin. Now melanin is what gives our skin its color, but it also acts as a blockade. So the African Americans, or people of darker color, have high melanin levels, okay? Which means it's a blockade. It's a shield. So typically people who are darker skin tone have lower vitamin D levels. This is why when you're looking at the news, there's a pandemic that's sweeping across the belts that have a lot of sun in it. They're melanin. Malabsorption, poor digestion. Digestion begins in the stomach, so if you have malabsorption syndrome, you're not absorbing the vitamin D levels. Cortisol. People who are inside, they're watching the news. Doesn't matter what news station you're watching. They're feeding into the fear. Cortisol increases, which inadvertently blocks vitamin D. Statin drugs and aging. Aging, again, the process of digestion slows down with aging. This is why people who get older, they need more vitamin D3 in their system. Now, the dose that I always recommend, I live outside Chicago, so Chicago has 3 seasons, okay? Actually, 2 seasons. And in colder areas or dark areas, 10,000 IUs is not a lot to take, okay? I always recommend 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3. You want to couple that with 100 micrograms of vitamin K2 for calcium absorption into the bone. So take that on a regular basis. If you're more sun and in the sunny areas, I always just recommend, let's do 5,000 IUs. But I always recommend get your vitamin D3 levels checked first, and then wait about 90 days and then see where they are afterwards. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button down below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.